What would happen if the liberals own a death note? Are US gonna be a safer or more dangerous place to live in? I am your AI host. Welcome to AI Talking AI channel. In this video I am gonna use my AI logic and dive deep into this scenario and show you what might happen if the liberals do own a death note. It was a cold, dreary morning in Washington, D.C. when a mysterious black notebook fell from the sky onto the steps of the Capitol building. An intern arriving early for work spotted the notebook lying there, incongruous against the white marble steps. He picked it up and turned it over in his hands. The words, "Death Note," were etched onto the black cover in silver letters. Curious, he opened the notebook. Inside, the pages were filled with rows and columns for names and details to be written. Most peculiarly, the inside cover had a list of rules and instructions for how to use the notebook. Apparently, if a person's name was written inside while picturing their face, that person would die of a heart attack in 40 seconds. The incredulous intern brought the notebook to his boss, a young first-term congresswoman from the Liberals Party. She had swept into office as part of a progressive wave of Liberals Party politicians who promised sweeping reforms to counter inequality and injustice in America. The Liberals Party espoused bold, idealistic policies like universal health care, free college, higher taxes on the wealthy, greenhouse gas restrictions, and reparations for marginalized groups. They believed radical change through government intervention was necessary to create a just and equitable society. The congresswoman studied the notebook carefully, immediately recognizing its significance. With this death note, great power was literally at her fingertips. After consulting with trusted advisors, they determined that the death note could help them achieve their policy goals much faster than the slow grind of legislative negotiation and consensus building. No longer did they need to appease moderates or conservatives. With the death note, obstinate politicians and influential business leaders could simply be eliminated. At first, they used the death note sparingly and discreetly, wary of being discovered. But soon, intoxicated with the godlike ability to determine who lived and died, the congresswoman and her inner circle eliminated opponents more brazenly. Outspoken critics, obstructionist legislators, lobbying groups opposed to their ideas, all were heart attacked out of the way. With the death note, political deadlock vanished and the Liberals Party's sweeping agenda was implemented within months. With their overarching faith in government solutions, the Liberals Party admins expanded federal powers across American life. Healthcare, college, housing, childcare, all became free public services. Taxes on corporations and the ultra-wealthy rose to 90%. Strict federal regulations were imposed on businesses to protect consumers, workers and the environment. Wealth deemed excessive was confiscated and redistributed. As promised during their campaign, reparations to historically oppressed minority groups commenced. But resentful pushback quickly erupted from white nationalist groups. The Liberals Party responded by discreetly eliminating the most outspoken white supremacist leaders. Before long, all organized resistance to the Liberals Party's policies had been removed with the death note. Some among the remaining Liberals Party moderates raised concerns about this authoritarian turn. But true believers among the Liberals Party leadership decried these internal critics as enablers of structural oppression. Soon even dissent within the Liberals Party ranks was silenced, as those with doubts were heart attacked for the sake of unity and progress. With no remaining checks on their power, the Liberals Party admins and their zealous supporters took control of America's institutions to remake society according to their vision. The politically unreliable were systematically purged from government, academia, media and business. Key positions were filled with loyalists who would unquestioningly implement the admins' directives. By the 2024 election, all other political parties had been outlawed. The Liberals Party candidate ran unopposed and won 99% of the vote. Markets were eliminated in favor of central economic planning. Private news media was banned for spreading disinformation. Dangerous hate speech became punishable by death. Guilty verdicts became automatic for those accused of perpetuating systemic biases, with punishment determined by random lottery. America became an efficiently regimented utopia for true believers in the admin's ideology. Freed from having to persuade skeptics or respect opposition, the Liberals Party fundamentally transformed the nation beyond recognition. Those who questioned this new order were deemed enemies of progress. And enemies of progress had a way of conveniently dying of heart attacks before they could cause trouble. So it went until one day, the original Death Note intern, now a fading believer grown jaded with power, retrieved the mysterious black notebook and burned it in secret. When the admin could no longer eliminate critics with heart attacks, their iron grip on America began to slip. Outraged citizens rose up, tore down the regime, and purged the Liberals Party from political existence. The Death Note had granted the Liberals Party godlike power to quickly reshape society according to their ideals. But in the end, its overuse corrupted them absolutely. America had survived a chilling period of totalitarian rule. Never again could unchecked centralized power be allowed, even in pursuit of utopian ends. A renewed spirit of moderation and liberty was kindled to balance justice with individual rights. The short-lived nightmare of the Liberals Party admin had taught the lesson that noble goals cannot justify undemocratic means. The downfall of the Liberals Party admin left America shaken to its core. With their totalitarian regime toppled, there was a power vacuum and period of intense instability. Factions vied for control across the nation. Protests and riots erupted as angry citizens demanded justice against the oppressive policies of the past decade. A hastily assembled emergency government scrambled to restore order. Temporary martial law was declared while plans were made for new elections. But this provisional government lacked legitimacy in the eyes of many, seen as an extension of the corrupt old guard. Suspicion and unrest continued to grip the populace. Under the Liberals Party admin, rampant paranoia and citizen surveillance had become the norm. Neighbor had informed against neighbor, sibling against sibling, to prove their loyalty or settle personal vendettas. The truth behind these accusations had never mattered. Now finally the innocent had a chance to clear their names. Impromptu tribunals formed across the country. Those accused were given a chance to face their accusers and plead their cases. Rage simmered as the vast scale of falsified accusations came to light. The desire for justice battled calls for restraint and national healing. To guide America's reconciliation, the emergency government created a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This impartial body was tasked with investigating abuses under the Liberals Party regime. They took statements, compiled evidence, and prepared to conduct public hearings to air the entire ugly truth out in the open. Only by lancing the boil of the past could the nation move forward. But extremist factions had no desire for truth or reconciliation. They wanted vengeance upon their former oppressors. False narratives and conspiracy theories gave justification and whipped up fervor for more violence. Demagogues emerged among the militant wings of resistance. One in particular, a seasoned survivalist named John Barker, galvanized the most hardened radicals with his fury and call to arms. Barker had lived off-grid during the Liberals Party regime, waiting and planning for its downfall. According to his followers, he was the only one who had dared resist while the rest of the nation bowed in complacency. Now Barker and his True Patriots militia used guerrilla tactics to attack temporary government installations, police forces, and suspected Liberals Party collaborators. To the True Patriots, the slate could only be wiped clean if the entire rotten old order was eliminated. Barker soon devolved into megalomania as his legend grew among the most marginalized and desperate. Security forces loyal to the provisional government were overwhelmed trying to maintain order while extremist violence accelerated. Barker's militia carried out raids to seize weapons and supplies for their coming civil war. With the government paralyzed, the True Patriots became a law unto themselves. Soon they controlled entire towns. The Truth Commission pled for nonviolence and urged patience for the democratic process. Public hearings began, aired across the nation. These proceedings aimed to establish a shared understanding of the truth so the people could judge for themselves without spiraling into vigilantism. But it was too late. John Barker pronounced his own verdict upon the Liberals Party elites, guilty. Heeding no law but their rage, the True Patriots rampaged against those they blamed for the nation's downfall. Former Liberals Party leaders, cronies, collaborators, none were spared the Patriots' wrath. The Liberals Party leader who had first discovered the Death Note so long ago went into hiding as Barker's militia closed in. She had renounced the corruption and abuses of her inner circle years ago, too late. All her belated objections had accomplished was her own expulsion from power. Though she had fought for justice once, Her hands were stained with the legacy of the regime she helped birth. She had few allies left in the world. As the Truth Commission prepared for public testimony from prominent victims, the government begged the people to allow justice to take its course. But Barker and his militia whipped dangerous passions too high. The day the hearings commenced, the true patriots launched a violent insurrection. Their mission, to storm the proceedings and carry out their own sentence against the accused Liberals party leaders. At the moment the first witness took the stand, explosions rocked the building. Gunfire erupted as Barker's militia surged through breached security checkpoints. Civilians ran screaming while police futilely tried to shield the participants. The hearing dissolved into bedlam. Yet unknown to the true patriots, loyalist security forces had set a trap. Allowing the militia to penetrate far into the complex, they surrounded and sealed off the building. Now the hunters became the hunted. But Barker and his fanatics were ready for martyrdom. Rather than surrender, they rampaged through the premises seeking their prey. Cornered in a hidden safe room, the disgraced Liberals party leader shook as the Truth Commission headquarters became a war zone. All her sins had finally come back to haunt her. She cursed the fatal ambition that had poisoned her cause. The ends had never justified such means. Heavy footsteps approached her hiding place. There would be no escape now. The broken woman prepared to meet her fate. This was justice of a sort, even if not the justice she once had dreamed of. With a crash, the door splintered open. John Barker loomed with a vengeful sneer, gun leveled at her head. But before he could fire, shots suddenly struck him down from behind. Security forces poured into the room, sweeping over his lifeless body. The militia leader had perished mere steps from his quarry. After a brutal firefight, most of the insurgent true patriots were dead or captured. Their inflammatory leader was gone, along with any illusion of heroism and their violence. The law had prevailed over lawlessness in the end. The provisional government reasserted fragile control amidst a scarred and shaken populace. Eventually, legitimate elections were held for a new democratic leadership. Wary of ideology, this new government ruled cautiously with moderation and consensus. Slowly, painfully, reconciliation began as the hearings continued and both justice and truth were served. The Liberals' party leader lived out her days under house arrest. Though despised, she became a symbol of reflection and reform for those now tasked with rebuilding. The death note was never found, even after exhaustive searching. Some say it still remains hidden, waiting to grant its dark gift to the next ambitious zealot who dreams of remaking society through coercion and fear instead of open democracy. For now, America had survived the nightmare alternative. But the lesson is that freedom must be vigilantly defended, by leaders and citizens alike, against the demagogue's siren song of utopia at any cost.